So I just wanted to pre-introduce this video. It's a recording of my artist talk that I gave last Thursday on May 15th. It is an interactive artist talk. It was in tandem with my solo exhibition, Beautiful Mistake, and it was my first time doing a live audience talk and Zoom live at the same time. I'm gonna share the recording in this video, and if you want to check it out, see what I'm up to. I go through a little bit of my personal history, just lightly, and how I came back to making art, and what are the most important things for me as an artist, right? Because it's so individual and personal, and everybody does have a story. So you'll hear a little bit of my story, and then you'll see me field some questions, and then I'll move into the interactive part.
Welcome to the Cooperative Gallery 213 and our third Thursday Art Talk. For those using Zoom, please leave your questions in the comment area. And our current show, as you can see, is the work of NATALIE DADAMIO. And before I hand things over to her, to read a short blurb about this show. Beautiful Mistake is a celebration of transformation through the unexpected, both in art and in life. Rooted in mixed media processes that include collage, pastel, colored pencil, and intuitive drawing, each piece emerges not from strategy or perfection, but from sensation, emotion, and instinct. NATALIE follows what moves her: impulse, accident, and energy. Mistakes become thresholds, and the smallest gestures can lead to profound openings. Ladies and gentlemen, NATALIE DADAMIO and Beautiful Mistake.
So thanks for coming, everyone. This is my first time doing a Zoom audience and a live audience, so yay for first times. I'm surprised and grateful for everyone that's shown up. That's always nice. You never know how these things are going to go. So I'm going to start screen sharing. And is it working? Can everyone in Zoom see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to take care of that first. So, as you know, my show is called Beautiful Mistake, and look, in case I forgot my name is NATALIE DADAMIO. I'm an abstract mixed media artist, and I wanted to say real quickly here that Beautiful Mistake is funded by the Earlville Opera House and the Hoyt Foundation. My idea was to do an interactive process demo with a little talk, and they funded the idea, so thank you to them. So I'll also give you a little brief overview of how it's going to go. I'll do a short backstory and give you some context for like the history of my life, but it'll be short and brief, hopefully, if I can stay on point. I was always an artist. And I'm weird and quirky and sensitive and funny. I promise there's proof. So here we go. I don't have many things from my childhood because of my history. But when my grandmother died, her sister, my great aunt, gave me a few things, and these are a few things I have. I would always make these cards when I was, younger. So this was for my mom. Welcome home. I'm sorry the vacation's over. Now back to the regular program. I think what was striking for me about like looking through these is realizing I was always that artist. This one says, "Happy birthday, Graham." Look, I drew like a horse eating a cake. That's so funny. But you can always see there is a natural color sensibility and proclivity, And I wrote to her, "Now that you're 59, You're very, very fine. You may have a glass of wine because you're 59. So, apparently you need to be 59 to have a glass of wine. But what this says about my childhood, because it kind of got lost a little in relation to being an artist. When I received these back, there was just kind of like, ooh, the thread. I could like see the thread, because I lost myself, like I said, but life happened. I made that one. Life happened, the storm. So I was a locked up artist in person for decades. Lots of things happened. I don't want to go into the details of that, but it's part of the story of returning to the artist that I am. Um, I did manage to go to experimental film school though, circa early 2000s. Back when mini DV was a thing. There's my first camera, Canon ZR-30, funky thing. Why put this in here? It's important to my history, and actually I'm returning to it right now a little bit. Some of you may have seen that video, Metamorphose, which is awesome that I had a breakthrough recently with that. But I always saw the experimental, like, and the abstract as like the same world. And in experimental film school over at Binghamton University, I did like gain some roots there, realizing, oh yes, you can make art. It can be weird, and it's a thing. But then again, after film school, but there might be a recurring theme here with the scream. Oops, life happened again. I kept losing myself in and out. This is really important to the context of Beautiful Mistake. Telling a little bit of the backstory, not going into the depth of it, but just, if you ever lost yourself or lost a moment, or you knew you were creative, but you knew you were like locked up and struggling, it can be like a really hard to get back to that sometimes. So how did I get here is the question. um, some important key moments throughout the last 2 decades. The artist's return. So 2010, I was stepping onto the alternative healing path, studying energy work and shamanism, healing my body, mind, spirit. I actually took myself off Western medication in 2010, which a spiritual vision led me to the path. I never really talk about this story, and I'm not going to go into the depths of it, but it's really important and intricate to the show now. So I was starting to move forward there, still having a lot of traumas to work through. And I didn't know then what I know now. Stepping onto the healing path would eventually usher in the artist's return. Of course, it wouldn't be that easy. It wouldn't be that easy. One hell of a roller coaster ride, right? I'm sure all of you have experienced that in some way, whether you're an abstract artist or a regular artist or just a person living in this world today, right? The ups and downs of life. 2015 was really the fall of 2015 where I found the Artist's Way book, which some of you may know that book. Some people love it. I think some people loathe it. It's one of those things that either works or doesn't, right? So I put that there because that was the seed where I found the book in a used bookstore on vacation and started cracking me open. And I was also cracking open in a different kind of way. You never know what's going to be the opening. I always love to talk about that, about art and living. Essentially, I was on two parallel tracks, moving between healing stuff and trying to figure out the art stuff. Lots of things were really going on. And then because of doing the Artist's Way book, in 2016, I did do a year of art. You can actually look on my personal Facebook page, and if you want to dig through the archive, I never delete anything, which is a problem, but not when you need it. It's not. I'm finding that out, so that's an important little note there. I have the history. I have the receipts to prove it. But it's not really about that. I was just trying to be funny. it's really about, I was trying to find who I was. I have all these sides of me, a childlike side, a spiritual side, and the abstract side, and they kind of were all like fighting for attention, or it's sometimes we need to pick a direction, and that's what can be challenging. But then, um, well, life really happened. Yes, and I kind of lost all of the art in 2017. But this is important because, like that roller coaster ride of a return, or if you ever try to get like sober and then you can't, but you fall back and then you finally come to a landing and place within yourself and you do. It's kind of how the art and creative process or returning to something can be, right? It can be challenging, and sometimes we can like lose ourselves and then like burst out and then fall back. But I was really having like a spiritual emergence here in this moment, for lack of better terms. So that really led me that moment into uh, finding abstraction in 2018. I took an online class. A lot of people you know it out there, CVP with Nicholas Wilton. It was a big backbone in that time. So I have to give him a shout out and the team then. But I was always an abstract person. It's what I was finding out, right? And my nature is just experimental and abstract. I've always been a fringe and an outsider. Um, and it's always been a challenge. I don't know if you've ever had a challenge of trying to fit in or having that weird thing where you just didn't understand. I don't know why. um, why am I thinking this way? But that's what makes us the people and the artists and the creatives that we are, right? That's the unique special sauce is you. um, so I was awakened and obsessed, but I still had a ton of fears to break through. I was afraid to be seen, which is ironic now because now I'm seen on Zoom and in with a live audience. Thank you, everyone that showed up. It's humbling, and I appreciate it. Um, but life happened yet again. This time, though, it's a gentler. The hermit there, the tarot card is kind of representing not the explosion, but it's more of like the internal blocking away. The only difference this time around, well, I was always making art. I made art through all the emotionality, right? And that's a side note here. It's really what came, what I teach, and I think some of my students maybe could attest to that, is I'm teaching like to go into the emotionality of all sides, because it's like what I experienced. So I went from being a locked up artist to being on overdrive, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just a lot in a different kind of way. Um, over the years, being in my art practice and with my art process day in and day out, it's really where I learned to hone my style and voice and find my own ways through it all. So actually, the other day I was thinking about it, and I estimate I must have made over 1,000 things probably since 2018, which is kind of crazy. It really is, and not all of those things made it to see the light of day, right? But I think that's a shared testament and love to the process. So, and I slowly came out of hiding because all those explosions and those trap things were, you know, all that stuff to work through would keep me internal, and I just naturally was an internal person. It was hard for me to see myself in the world. Um, I think that's just a trauma. So I had a few shows, one over at Orazio Salati's Innovative Expressions and Sentient Pathway Gallery. They were both through BCAC though. And if you know Tom Haynes, he owns the painting Peekaboo right there, and it's hanging over in his bar, which is kind of cool. Tom's a great supporter of the arts. Um, a few key moments in the last few years, becoming more embodied through the process of it all. So yeah, there. I was gonna share a few like significant things that really did only happen in the last few years. Um, this one is a little bit older. Hilma Af Klint retrospective. Seeing that was life-changing. If you're aware of her, she's the first abstract female artist. Dated before like Wassily Kandinsky. Kind of got lost in translation, or the thing about her work is it was like secret work. Even when she died, is she in her will it said, "Don't show my work until 20 years after my death." She knew the work was ahead of her time, and I can relate to those feelings sometimes. So seeing that show really did change me. And actually, one of the drawing walls, if you guys are here, is a nod to that and kind of an homage to that. It's called Transmissions of Light. And then seeing the Joan Mitchell retrospective at Baltimore Museum of Art in the summer of 2022. Mitchell's work is just amazing, and I mean, I'm in love with abstract expressionism. So, and she was the one of the four runners and the female abstract expressionists, and lots of them are very large and huge, and you can just see that she was not playing by the rules. She was definitely using color out of the tube. Let's just put it that way. Um, And so, like, I admire people like that when you see that throughout history. It's always great to find that inspiration because for me, you can like glom onto it and say, yes, that I get that. That's important to me. So another big moment was having my artist residency in Santa Fe, New Mexico, summer of 2023, only a few years ago. My life was also having a crumbly moment, and then I got the gift to go out there. So that was awesome. It was like where I made my first 5-foot painting. And I really come to a conclusion out there for myself. I was asking a question, how does it feel? Was kind of what the premise of that was. And feeling first was, it became an embodied understanding, not just an idea or concept. I don't know if you ever had that moment where, like, an idea, or you read a quote and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to get to that place. But this time it actually became like a known truth, like living deep inside of me, where I could say, feeling first is where I have to go. And then all the other things can follow suit, like the technical, I could put that underneath that. And once I like latched onto that, oh, things change. And I feel like it's a combination though of the things I just showed you in the past too, like all coming into view, but you never know when the moment's gonna really rise, which is cool to see when you stay in your like art process and practice. Because when you have those dips, or you want to quit again, which that's me so many times. But then you have the rise, and it's cool. It's worth staying there. Also, we had a little what was it? Like an open studios, and I was talking with an older gentleman, and he said, "You really can talk. You really know what you're talking about." Or he just said I was explaining abstraction well, and I looked at him. I'm like, I do know what I'm talking about because I love to talk about it. If you're in this room or on the Zoom, you guys might know I love to talk. Especially when I'm comfortable. Like, and then just last year, that was November 2024, I had an artist residency with BCAC, which is just next door from here. And that also really changed me, you know. I filled up the space. I sure did. And there was this big thing when you like look through that theme of life of giving up and returning and coming back around, and then finally just claiming something for yourself. The space was important, and I'm so prolific in my practice that I know I could fill it. And then that really kind of put me on the love for the idea of installation, and that's kind of why you're seeing the two drawing walls with the paintings. I, I would love to do more stuff like that. So just a few artist inspirations and some quotes that really changed me. Don't worry, I won't bore you with all the art history. So William de Kooning said, "I don't paint to live, I live to paint." And that sometimes, like these little moments in the openings, it can be in a quote, it can be in like a person, it can be in like when you catch something. I don't know if you ever experienced those synchronicities, but this, I was in such a low when I read this, and it just like ripped through me. Like, I don't paint to live, I live to paint. Um, so profound to think about it, like a great like reframe of it all. And some of his history, I do have to say something about it, because he stowed away to come here illegally to New York, and then he was like a house painter for a really long time, or painting murals or whatever, trying to make it back then. And then Helen Frankenthaler, she said, "There are no rules. That is how art is born. How breakthroughs happen. Go against the rules or ignore the rules. That is what invention is about." Um, Someone that loves to break the rules loves reading a quote like that. And like to find it through history, it's just so, what is it? Like rewarding or opening, or you find relation through these like long lost things. And I really, like, I aspire to bring that through for people as well. Um, so, and then this Marilyn Minter quote really did also ripple through me, and I found it at the right time as well. Don't disregard your gifts. The art world is going to challenge you enough. Don't make it any harder on yourself. Stick with your strengths. If something comes easily to you, don't dismiss it. Explore and expand on it, rather than trying to force it into the prevailing zeitgeist. Just because something seems easy or natural to you doesn't mean it's weak. Listen to your inner voice. Um, this one really got me, and it was only like really last year, in the beginning of last year. And then I went on to do my 100-day project, like I've never done my 100-day project. Um, because I feel like I used to think if it's too fast or if it's just immediate, which I really do love those moments that couldn't stand alone and it needed to be labored. But really, I really started to learn to separate it all out for myself then. That's why there are the drawings, and then there are the more layered, thought out works, and it's all connected. But sometimes there is just an immediate moment that comes out. And I think some of you know, if you're artists practicing this way in the emotional, that you learn to trust those moments more and more, and just like honor that within yourself. And you can say, yes, this is art. This is me. So it's been a long journey, and at times a very tedious process of letting go and moving even deeper internally. But through it all, I kept and I keep going, which brings us to now. So this is a show, Beautiful Mistake, and it kind of is a summary of all of that. But what is so cool to see for myself is that I can see myself fully here, and I'm also like all here now, and knowing how lost I was, and knowing how hard it was for me to return to not just art, but to like being seen and living through it all. It's a powerful thing. So I really am invested in the healing power of art and the creative process and what that can really open us. Of course, it's a product, but I really love the process. And I see so much, potential and possibility for anyone to experience process, especially in an expressive and emotional way, because you start connecting to the self. This painting, I'm going to show you on Zoom some of the paintings here on the slides, but obviously if you're here in the gallery, Metanoia is over there in the corner. It's becoming my favorite, and like for me, I'm like, it's a glitch in the matrix. I was trying to explain those explosions and you know also trying to trust myself to just leave it explosive and raw. um I'll read the flaws and fragments wall. So flaws and fragments, what's interesting about this, and some people might know out there, I use like blank cards a lot of times to like move the paint around. And a lot of these frags were like from these moments, right? Which is important. Um, anyway, I'll read the little thing. Flaws and Fragments is a collection of drawing collages made from scraps, painterly offcuts, gestural remnants, and discarded pieces. Each composition serves as an act of rebellion, quietly reminding us that what doesn't quite fit can still belong. The work shows that beauty often arises from happy accidents, spontaneous moments, and mistakes. What one person may discard or overlook can be cherished and loved by another. Through the reassembly of scraps, new images emerge, reminding us that beauty can be found in even the most unexpected places. And that is kind of like a part of the theme of Beautiful Mistake, and a little deeper. It goes into, the acceptance piece of being the outsider or trying to like fit in. Or sometimes the judgment that comes in when we get overlooked or discredited because it's not a traditional path, not just in art, but in living. And there's many paths, right? I think that's what I really want to be a steward of through art and like share in that idea. I also love the reassembly of like collage. I see like landscapes in there like a lot of the time. This is another, for the Zoomers out there, this is like one of the interior walls, but if you're in here, you could see that. So here's a picture of me in the process. It's in the process of making the next piece. I thought I'd share some of those little behind the scenes moments. I love the sheer energy and full body engagement, immersing myself fully in the moment. There's nothing better than like slinging paint, especially if you like it, I guess. But the emotionality of it can be so nice. And there's so much power and energy to wield through color, line, shape, and form in the process of letting go. Um, and what's also cool is it can like hold the memory. That's a piece right there. I think I become enamored with it. I mean, I love them all, but I've noticed that even myself, I've been drawn to them for some reason. So when the heart meets the sky, I also was just telling a friend, an artist, I love it when a painting cries. It's like the drips, or it kind of resembles sadness, and then there's that transformation too. I love an unpristine surface, something I couldn't admit for a long time. But I think admitting that is just like, it feels better. And then you can really let go more. At least that's what I found. Yeah. So this is just a little bit in the studio scenes and some more key inspirations there showing up. The Kooning and Helmut Clint. Arshile Gorky is really amazing too. But And this is another back shot for the Zoomers out there of the wall. So I really wanted to talk about the before of one of the paintings called Elysium in my show, because if right now you're looking at that was Elysium, and I was trying, maybe my students might laugh at me because I was actually trying to make like minimal paintings. I thought like I needed to break up the space, and I was trying to make something darker, and it wasn't working. And it went through like many iterations, but then finally one day it just exploded into that, and it was pouring out of me. That's, if you're in here, that's the one right behind there, Elysium. And then I had another reminder in that moment. It was like, you just gotta be who you are. Because it's like when you try to force it, it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's that one. And then the other drawing wall, which is important there, transmissions of light. Um, a nod to recalling and remembering the spiritual in art. Transmissions of light is a drawing wall created through an energetic process that channels a response to the unseen, rooted in the spiritual and guided by an intuitive process. Each mark becomes more than a line, and it is a transmission, a flicker of spirit, an echo of light. Rooted in abstraction, this work reclaims drawing as a vessel for the unseen, where the hand channels light and the act becomes a quiet invocation for something greater. So I said earlier about the Hilma F. Clint and the spiritualism in abstraction. For me, just with my history and energy work in shamanism, there is a natural like spiritual inclination that I'm interested in. I wouldn't always like admit it, so I wanted to make like this intentional wall to give like a nod to it, and also bring that through me with the intention of that, and that's that wall. So I always tell my students, if you're not laughing, you're not doing it right. So I put this funny picture in there. This was in the process of making Free to Fly, which that's a large piece. I had a couple of breakthrough moments, with the large work. I was really allowing all sides out, and that's really been a key for me to really find more freedom, not just in art, but in living. And so there's that. That's the painting, Free to Fly. It's on the back wall there for the Zoom audience. So in summary, Beautiful Mistake is really born out of all those little moments through healing and returning to the artist I always known myself to be, and all the explosions in a way too, the hard moments. It's also my sheer love and passion for paint and the process itself at the most simplest level, but at the same time, it really has a deeper meaning too. It's a story about survival and the wisdom I have personally gleaned through the hardships of enduring all the mistakes. It's about alchemy. When the inner and the outer start to merge and converge, deeper trust with the self is developed in all ways and on all levels. It's about allowing anything to be part of the process, which at times isn't the easiest thing to do, right? Because you have to doubt it, the external voices. It's most definitely about bringing forth all of myself to the work and out in the open, something I used to be so afraid of. I still can be afraid, but I'm a lot better these days. I just wanted to say, depending on the day, you never know. It's also about acceptance and daring courage. What I've learned over time is that when we allow ourselves to open to the art and creative process and let all sides out and in, we find more internal freedom. And I'm all about freedom in art and living and sharing my perspective of what that means to me. And that is what you are viewing here tonight. So now let's play with the process. This is just a quote that I wrote. So this part, I don't know how to segue because that's the end of the talk. So we could do questions and then segue.
I just want to remind the Zoom people, if you have questions, to put them in the chat box. And do you want to stop sharing your screen?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody here having questions? I do.
You do?
And we've talked about, how do you know when to stop? Like, how do you go, oh yeah, that was done. I can't put another drop on there. It's perfect. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh boy. That's like a recurring question for abstraction, isn't it? When do you stop? It's funny because it will be more of a feeling than anything, and that's hard to explain a feeling, even though I love to try to give it words. But it's really hard to define those moments. I'm thinking about composition and color and even value, so it's not like I'm completely saying throwing out all of those rules. So I do want some kind of balancing element in there. Also, there's like the little extras when you like look closer, you see the drips or the splatters. Sometimes that's supposed to be, it's almost like a controlled surprise, kind of breaking up the surface with a drip or a scribble mark. There's so many like different ways to approach that. What I can say is that I thought I was done like on a certain layer on that large one over there. And you just know, you just like look at it in different kinds of ways, in a feeling sensation and also in a color and a balancing sensation. But who determines the like balancing? I guess that's the trust, because I guess you could say, oh, there could be more, right? Or there could be less. So the artist decides that.
You ever think about turning them around? Do you turn them around a lot where you hang them?
Wow, that's interesting. Someone said, I like never really do that. I never really flip them like around at all. I don't
Well,
know.
there is a positioning that you're thinking of when you're doing it.
Yeah, I think when I'm like looking at the surface or with it, a lot of times it's gonna sound weird, but it's kind of like a communion in the moment. That moment is always changing. So if you leave it for 2 months and then you have to like have a conversation with it, sometimes you have to like wait for it to talk with you. That sounds maybe weird, but like it's about presencing a lot of the times, more so than even like a technique or I don't know.
You tend to lean more towards verticals than squares. Is that intentional or you just
Or, um,
like you have one horizontal?
oh yeah, I tried to actually make some landscapes. Well, in my mind, I was thinking I was going to make these dreamlike landscapes and make them horizontal. And it's not really a thought out decision much. Like, why am I not making more horizontals? I don't know.
Okay. Maybe it was a space thing in your studio.
Maybe, well, this is gonna be off camera because you can like, it's like, oh, maybe you could still do it. I don't know. It's like the body. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. There's different kinds of ways I would work off of the wall. Gives you the nice drips. But if you don't want all the drips, it's a pain. And you want to flood the surface still. I need to like lay it down so I can like flood the surface and let it stain. You can't, let it hang. And so there are different ways to like work with the like paint and the technique that way.
You have 3 chats.
Oh, I have 3 chats. Um, oh, have I created more 5-foot paintings? No. That's where I think I'm on the road to large scale work. I don't want to do any small work unless it's on paper, but I don't want to do anything smaller than a 24-inch by 24-inch, I decided. But even that seems small now. Like I picked up the 24 inches by 36 inches the other day, and I'm like, what is this thing? But
These are 5 foot, right?
48 by 60.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
that's right.
Yeah.
There's 2 5-foot ones on the show. I thought it was.
You finish your trauma healing. How much did art play a role?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Do you feel like you finished your healing of your trauma, and how much did work play a role in that?
Um, One thing I would say right off the bat, I don't think we're ever finished in one way. I know that sounds weird to say, but what happens is it gets a lot more quieter inside because some of those moments will never go away, right? Especially if they were really significant. But yes, art making and this my spiritual journey has been a huge point of like, releasing the emotion and what I love about art making in the process itself, when we forget about the product and just like get into the moment, is you start to work out some of that stuff, the emotionality. What I learned over time too is sometimes I would show up in a sad moment to the painting, but the painting would be happy, or sometimes vice versa. I'd be um happy and the painting would be like angry or something. I would notice that the opposites kind of merge a lot of the times. But I really think there's an importance to connecting with ourselves. Like when we suppress something and we're not getting it out, we're not like expressing it right. So art making is great for that because you don't have to tell the whole story. What I would say over time, it really has helped me to tell the story. I didn't go into the details here, right? Because I don't want to like, I would happily talk to anyone about details because I don't mind. I'm like an open book in that regard, but it really has like created that kinetic connection with the self, and it allows you to just be you in the moment. And sometimes when we have the fear of creating, that can like kind of complicate what the trauma was. Sometimes like the trauma can get in the way of the fear of starting, if that makes sense. So I really had to work that out too. It's like I came to the art making but had the trauma kind of there, so I would have to like work maybe a little bit more. But when you stay in the process, I really do believe through what I have done and what I teach people, even online, that it's a possibility to start to loosen that more and more. And it's going to depend on how deep and where you're starting from, right? It's like a layered process, just like anything. I hope I answered your question.
Colors that you use? I see a lot of things like repeating, like a pink, a light pink. And I'm wondering I'm imagining, I don't know if this is true, but I'm kind of imagining that you have some like language inside, like pink means this. I'm saying this,
Oh,
like,
okay.
this color. How is that work for you?
How do I relate to color? I'm not really thinking about it like pink means happy or something. Yeah. No. I think what's interesting, because on this piece on the third layer, it was all red, and I really did have a strong emotional release when I like went onto that layer. Um, but I wasn't like thinking anything about it in relation to that means this feeling. I was just grabbing.
What do you think, looking back, do you feel like maybe you're expressing a certain thing with certain colors, not consciously saying?
One thing that I
This
would
makes
say
sense.
is not even in relation to color, but I'll see landscapes are kind of naturally coming out of me, even though I don't really like traditional landscapes so much. But there's these like abstract landscapes, and what I noticed teaching my students too is we all have like these innate like landscapes within us. But I'm not really thinking about color. I know that I love the sky so much, and it tends to translate, I feel, sometimes, and I gravitate towards those like colors because I love the sky. I love the in-between times, like the twilights and the like dawn breaking and stuff.
Natalie, have you ever worked with earth tones or wax
um, I think so. I maybe done a few black paintings. I love like ink and black, you know. I'm kind of working with the process that way, in more of like an expressive, raw, wild way. I tend to like not do neutrals. I mean, I've tried. I think I'm just not drawn to it.
There's a question on chat here. Were you painting with acrylics, bare hands and brushes, PT, etc.?
Oh, um, you know what? Yes, I love my bare hands. Not so much the brushes. I've been using like blank index cards to push paint around a lot, or like old book pages, and then I'll use those as scrap papers. That's what you could see in the frags, the flaws and fragments thing. Um, there is a house paint too. It's just cheaper to use like white. Um, I use a lot of white to like determine the value, and I would go through a lot of white paint, so I'll use house paint there. And I kind of will just mix all paint. That's something I'd like to say about materials. I'm kind of not a material like elitist. I don't know if that's the right word, but I just like I'll let my high-end paint hang out with the low-end paint, and we can all have a party. And you never know what's going to be the thing. And I like to also tell my students, I always share, like, don't discredit anything because you never know what's going to be the opener. That one thing that's attractive to you could be the thing that is like your signature. I really feel that one artist that comes to mind is Mark Bradford. When you look into the history of his work, and you realize how he started, you're like, oh, yeah, it can really be anything. But I,
There's no question here. Your layering is deep and multicolored. Do you let layers dry in between to avoid mud? Your colors see.
oh, thanks for that comment. I actually got a comment about Kismet. It was in a online show. The jurors said the same thing about the colors being still vibrant and not mud. There's the funny thing is I did let a lot of layers in this collection dry because I was looking for that. I was kind of borrowing from Frankenthaler where she stains the canvas, and I was doing it my own way. And you have to kind of have patience and let it stain, or it won't be a stain. Um, but there's a lot of times where I think I'm just like some kind of weird color worker because it never tends to muddy, and I'll like make a wet layer and then I'll make a fast layer, which we should be going over to that process part. And I could kind of show you that in the process.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great segue. So I'm gonna leave this Zoom and go to another camera. And yeah. I don't know. I think what's funny is, and if you want to like come up or change the chairs, feel free. Um, and I forgot, one thing is I forgot my spray bottles, so this might get messy. But, um, you know, there's something about just starting, right? And, I think when you're thinking about intuitive painting, it's or like feeling more, you're just kind of grabbing into the moment and like having like a mixed media like experience. What I love is using these old pages to move the paint. I realized I forgot my sprayer though, which makes it a little more challenging. A lot of times I'm not even doing I'm not always mixing, but I do color mix. But you know, for this demonstration, it's really not about the rules. It's kind of about when we're allowing ourselves to go beyond what it actually is or what we think it's been told. So it works out here. That I'm not doing that. The other thing is I do tend to mix a lot on the surface, which it can muddy the paint. One thing I want to, do they hear me on this? Oh, okay. So I think I got like nervous. Um, you gotta look up Joan Mitchell's painting called Mud Time. I saw that painting and it changed my life. Mud Time. She knew what she was doing when she called it that. It's like, all mid-value, and she was playing with that idea of like, I'm just gonna do what I want. I don't know, that painting really kind of changed me, and that is an all neutral painting, and it's called Mud Time. But it's like she did that on purpose, I think. I don't know. I mean, that's how it felt to me because that she named it Mud Time, so she knew she was like having these muddy, mucky values. But then she made a whole painting and called it that. That's bold. Like, um, you know, that's what's funny about that is like one of her she has some neutrals too, but I was attracted to that because she kind of like said it, you know, like I don't care, I'm gonna say this. I don't know if anyone wants to come up and like start experimenting or not. There's something about just I always say feeling into the mark in the moment. There isn't really a wrong way. It's just like your way. But there is something too about, I guess, color composition and design. But I kind of want that to like fall in the like black of everything and just let the automatic take over. That's like kind of where, oh my gosh, you're the best.
So when you're doing
Hopefully I don't get you. Wait, what?
diesel, when you're paint, it's gonna lay flat.
So, I love like always standing. I hate sitting. So I'll be like working like this on a table, which I'm here, or off the wall, or on the floor. I have to have like the ooh, uh, that's the painting movement. Oh, well, that's what I said in the presentation. Like, there's something about like the sheer force. That's why working large is amazing, and but my desire is to work like large, like Joan Mitchell. That's a little challenging with the circumstances I have now. Um, but that's kind of like a breakthrough, and I know I have like that in me, you know. So the other thing is, you know, this is just kind of like how I would start working with the layers. Um, but in relation to, I'm gonna make a mess here. Just like these smaller moments, it's kind of just, and I would say these are more like drawings, even though I'll use like paint. I always kind of just looked at paint as a drawn mark or something. Um, but
Notice the vertical orientation of the page.
oh my gosh, that really bothers you.
I'm curious about aspect ratio, and, you know, that's why I'm excited about your next show because you have no board.
Oh, no boundaries, no borders, unframed, unhinged. Yeah. Yeah, I really, I shouldn't say this. I really was getting like kind of bored with the painting, even though I made all these paintings. Um, I was looking for a little bit extra, and then like 3 years ago, it started to show up because I started to like assemble pieces like off the edge of the paper, and I was doing weird things like that, and then finally, I guess it's gonna become a thing. You can see that in those fragments and collages, right? And like that's kind of what I have here. It's just a bunch of frags. Which is fun because I like love um an eclectic mixture of things. And like sometimes I like putting things together like that wouldn't go together, and trying to find like my own sensibility because I feel like we all have our own innate sensibility too. Like, and like if you guys came up here and did it, you're gonna probably put it together differently, and that's so cool. There's something about collage helps me kind of see, and I didn't say this, but in some of the pieces, like there's an automatic drawing in that painting Kismet, and it's okay. I kind of that's how I cheat and get my hard lines, and and try to like anchor it that way sometimes. Because I really am not like a hard lines girl. But sometimes maybe you need one. No. Hopefully I can keep his sunflower plant alive. I'm not. No, I appreciate gardens though, and like flowers. And the shamanism, like there's something called a journey. So it's like a meditation, and you go to like different places and spaces, kind of like in your mind. I would always see myself kind of returning color, and I would see like visions of different things. Even gardens was one. I would always see like space and stuff. Underwater world scenes with color. I think color is just innate to me in a feeling and sensory way, and that's why I can just like, I guess, pick it up. Or even when I'm working, I'll hear or see yellow before it's there. And so I just I'll go yellow, grab it in and pull it in.
The hard lines mostly in your drawings, and then you're incorporating that into your paintings with collage. Is that what you're?
Yeah, but I actually will attack the surface with drawing. I love it. That's so risky too, because like even that one, like these marks have to come in at the end, and then you don't know if the scribbles when you get up close, you start to be like, whoa. um, Even me, I'm looking at it now. I don't know like where it started or where. But the drawing marks can come like last onto that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Kind of ties it all together.
Sometimes, yeah. And it could just be like a fun mixture. Did anyone want to come up and play around or um there's like glue stick.
Are you done with it for now?
Yeah, you should probably put it away or I'll ruin the floor.
I don't step on.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, why? This is Oh yeah. Toothbrush is great. I forgot to. Oh, where's my audience? Whoops, I'm losing the audience. Everybody needs a toothbrush for painting. It's like one of the best things because you can really get into the like I don't know.
Not much of your flipping.
Well, it's flicking too. You can control the flick. Sometimes, what I love to do is like pull the paint on my hand. I'm not gonna do that here. We definitely need more plastic. We need more plastic. We can do that, but like pull the paint and like that's this, then orange.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you water it down before you throw it?
a little bit.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But sometimes you just want a little. Yeah.
People said something.
What do they say?
Great, we want to see you in action, Natalie. Oh, I love seeing you paint and make it look so fun.
Oh, thank you, everyone out there in Zoom world. I was forgetting about it. I really appreciate all of you showing up. I know some of my students had come online, and that's awesome. I just want to say thank you for coming to the Zoom portion of this interactive artist talk. Beautiful mistake.
It was a beautiful mistake.